tonight I'll be talking about a moment in my life that I'm incredibly proud of, that I view as a stellar achievement and great success for myself. Senior year of high school, I was in a tech class with a teacher that I respect very much. And imagine you are sitting in a class with a teacher that you respect more than any other teacher you have, and the class is about to end, and it's the end of the day, and he asks you as you're leaving, nobody else around, to give a presentation the next morning. In my mind, I am dead at this moment. I am panicking, I am horrified, I hate presenting. My social anxiety when it comes to public speaking is more than any of my peers I've ever been around, and it is paralyzing, or had been paralyzing in the past. But at that moment, my respect and admiration for this instructor trumped my social anxiety, my need to flee at that moment. So I accepted reluctantly, and with a forced smile on my face, I walked out of the building, went home. That night, I asked my dad to come and watch because I would need all the moral support I could get. And it would be good of me to mention that I had no idea what the presentation entailed, besides the fact that I was going to be talking on a project we had been working on. That's all I knew. I didn't know who was going to be in the audience. I didn't know who else was going to be presenting that day. All I knew is that tomorrow morning, walk in, wait for my slide to pull up, and talk about our website we had been building. That's all I knew. So I go to bed knowing my dad would be there, and I was a little more relaxed. But I wake up the next morning, my dad and I eat breakfast and drive off to school. We approach the building and my heart is racing, stress levels rising, anxiety increasing. But I'm there with my dad and it calms me down. But as soon as we enter the building, I see the crowd. 100+ people in a foyer, chairs galore, packed. My heart sinks. I had no idea it would be this full, this important of an event. And did not help that within the first 2 minutes of being in the building, my instructor found me and told me that not only were these people teachers, principals, members of the district, but that the superintendent of the district was there and in the front row. Upon hearing that, I panicked. A cold sweat began to start and I was hyperventilating. But my dad was there, he knew about my extreme social anxiety, and he was able to calm me down. So I sat down in the back row where a bunch of presenters were waiting and stewed. See, it would have been smart the night before to rehearse, discuss with my teacher what I should be presenting, but I didn't. My social anxiety kind of stunted that. So for the next 5 to 10 minutes, as I watched marketing students, accounting students, and other tech students present their slide one after another, all with detailed note cards and other presentation help, I just sat there, no resources at hand, terrified, thinking to myself, how could I possibly come up with enough information to fill my time slot? It was an overwhelming task in my mind that I did not think I'd be able to overcome. But knowing that my teacher, my instructor that I respected more than anything, was relying on me to give this presentation, to build credibility for his class and what they've been working on, I forced myself through these 10 minutes of that felt like a millennia. It was horrible. But I forced myself through, and when my slide came up, which I had not made, all it had was a title that said Career Center website with one link. No bullet points, nothing for me to go off of. Great. I walk up knowing it's my slide, and to my surprise, my anxiety lifts just a little bit. I don't know why. It might have been because of my father's presence in the audience. It might have been because of the smile on my instructor's face, but I wasn't as high strung, I wasn't as anxious. So I stand at that podium and I glance down the front row, and we have the primary administrators for the Career Center all lined in a row. Within the center is the superintendent. Wanting to make a good impression, surprisingly, I was able to make a humorous quip during the beginning of my speech. Something I had not prepared and completely came up with on a whim, which was the majority of this speech that I gave. It got a laugh out of the crowd, which alleviated much of my anxiety. But there was still the presentation. Knowing that it was just the link to the website, I explained some key integral parts that a school or a new business requires a website to be relevant, and I went to the website. Knowing that I had been working on it, I knew my way around, but it was incomplete. And showing off something that you worked so hard on while also being incredibly anxious was difficult, but through very few stuttering or instances of stuttering and very few skipping of words, I was able to clearly explain that this website was incredibly useful and integral to the operation and the advertising of the Career Center. And throughout the entire presentation, the audience was silent and attentive. Didn't appear bored, didn't appear to lose me at any place, and there's a feeling of pride in that. And when I explained for longer than maybe 5 to 10 minutes of explaining this website, I had a rush of euphoria knowing that I had successfully explained and presented this important project that we've been working on, this important iota of information that I didn't even know about 24 hours prior. I had successfully explained to some of the most important people in relation to our school district, and when I gave my conclusion, I got a round of applause and was able to walk down to my seat with pride. This was an incredible lift, and I have never felt more euphoria in my life in that moment than in that moment. The look of pride on both my father and my instructor's faces was enough to make my entire day. It was, while I might not have felt as proud of myself in the moment as they did, I came to realize that this was a major stepping stone in my life. For before this moment, presenting was not a possibility. I had presented less than 10 times in my entire life to a group of people, had avoided it at every turn if possible. It was so bad to the point where I had taken failing grades on assignments just so that I wouldn't have to stand in front of a class and explain it to them. But in this moment, I was able to swallow that anxiety and present to not only a group of peers, but to a group of people that I find a lot of respect in and who have a lot of influence in our area, who very important people that I would never have imagined presenting to, or nor would I have wanted. And to my surprise, I was able to do it nearly completely impromptu, without any preparation and without any resources. I successfully gave a presentation, gave the biggest presentation of my entire life. So through all of that, I would definitely claim that event, this event, to be the most memorable moment of success I've ever had in my entire life. That to pull off something like that, something I'm so dreadful of, to such a degree of success, is unrivaled in my opinion for me. Not only was it successfully presenting to very important people, but it was doing a successful presentation and conquering a fear of mine at the same time, which makes the success all that much greater. So I would like to thank you guys for listening, and I hope now that you understand that this is one of the most important moments of my life. This success helped bolster the rest of that year, and I am a better presenter for it, and I am much less anxious when it comes to making more presentations. It's not all the way gone, but it was a definitely large stepping stone in the way of presenting.